What's up everyone, it's the Irishman. We're just here at Donlands. It's Paddy's Day, got the green on, a couple of Guinness. We're out early getting some fuel into us before we head and play some 2-5 down at Parq. See you now at the tables.
Here we go again. We're on the road again. We're on the road again. We're on our way to paradise. We love the jungle tea. That's where the lion sleeps. For then those evil eyes, they have no place in paradise.
Graffiti on the wall just as the sun was going down. I see graffiti on the wall
Of the cells, of the cells.
Graffiti on the wall, it says we're magic, we're magic. Graffiti on the wall. Graffiti on the wall. And it says boom,
Ah, up the rat, say boom, ah, up the rat.
What's up, it's the Irishman. We're out here at Parq on the best day of the year, St. Patrick's Day. We've been out early, having a couple of Guinness, we're all in green, we're celebrating one of the best days of the year. We're getting in the mix in the 2-5, we buy in for 1,500, which is the max. We're feeling lucky. I think we should get rewarded by the poker gods on St. Patrick's Day, so let's see what happens. Kicking off the first hand, we look down at the powerful Ace King of Hearts under the gun and raise it up to $20. Player in the next seat over makes the call and the button makes the call. So we're going 3 ways to a flop here. Flop comes down Ace Queen 5 rainbow, so we've top pair, top kicker. We've a really strong hand on this board. There shouldn't be too many hands beating us. Ace Queen with a 3-bet, Ace 5 suited probably 3-bets, so they also can't have aces or queens, so pocket 5s is really the only hand going to beat us, and we end up deciding to go for a check. The reason we decide to check is we're hoping that some worse aces will bet, maybe some bluffs, and we're actually going to go for a check raise on the flop. Unfortunately, both the players check, bit annoying, so we go to the turn with 67 in the middle and it comes an offsuit 6. Now we want to start putting money in the pot. We fire out a bet of $40. The player in the seat beside us makes the call and we go heads up to the river. River comes another queen, pairing the queen. He could certainly have a queen at this stage. It would make sense for him to check the flop, call the turn, but I think we still want to go for some value on the river. We can comfortably fold if we get raised. We fire out a bet of $80. He makes the call, we flip over our hand, and it's good to scoop a $307 pot to start the session. Feeling lucky today. Hopefully the luck can continue and we can have a monster session. We look down at 8-9 of diamonds under the gun and raise it up to $20. Under the gun 1 calls and it folds all the way around to the big blind. He's a friend of ours, a very good reg, and he 3-bets to $140. We make the call and under the gun 1 comes along, so heading 3 ways to a flop here. There's $420 in the middle. We're hoping for a good one. It comes down 10-8-6 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond, so we flop middle pair and a gut shot. We also have a backdoor flush draw. The big blind fires out a bet of $125. We're not going anywhere to just over a quarter pot bet. We might have the best hand at the moment. We're ahead of hands like Ace King and Ace Queen, and even if they do have an overpair, we should have outs. We have a gut shot to a straight, we have some backdoor flush draws, so we make the call and under the gun 1 gets out of the way. The turn comes to 5 of hearts. It completes the front door flush draw. Big blind checks it over to us, and now I like starting to bluff with this hand for a couple of reasons. We're going to have way more flushes than the big blind should have. His only flushes really should be hands like Ace King of Hearts and Ace Queen of Hearts, and that's literally 2 combos of flushes. We're going to have all the Jack Queen, King Jack, King Queen of Hearts. We're going to have Ace Jack of Hearts, Ace Queen of Hearts. We've so many flushes here, so I like bluffing with this hand and starting to put pressure on some overpairs. We definitely have a bigger nut advantage at the moment on this board, so we can blast off on rivers and put overpairs in a miserable spot. I don't think we want to bluff too big on the turn here for a couple of reasons. If we did have a flush, we wouldn't want to bomb. We want to make sure hands like aces and kings and queens still stay in the pot. So I like using a small sizing on the turn, and it leaves us that we can have a pot size or a slight overbet jam on the river to really put the big blind in a tough spot. We fire out a 1/3 bet of $225. He eventually makes the fold, so I reckon he probably just had 2 overcards. I think he would have at least looked up 1 more if he did have an overpair, and it would have set us up for a spicy river, because I think on most rivers we would have had to stick the stack in and try get them to fold them overpairs, put them in a horrible spot, put them in the blender. Fortunately, we didn't have to do that, and we take it down on the turn. In this hand we look down at 3-4 spades on the button. Probably a hand you shouldn't play, but at this point in the session we're about 6 Guinness deep. They're looking nearly like aces. Middle position opens to 15. I flat the button and the big blind comes along. So we're going 3 ways to a flop here. We're feeling lucky. I feel like we'll flop a flush. We don't flop a flush, but we flop the next best thing when you have 4 high. It comes queen of spades, 6 of spades, queen of diamonds. So we flop a flush draw. The big blind checks before the initial aggressor continues with a C bet of $30. We're going nowhere with our flush draw. We make the call and the big blind gets out of the way. Heading to the turn now, and it comes a pretty good one. It comes to 7 of spades. We now make a baby flush. There's 107 in the middle, and the initial raiser continues for $60. We're really hoping he has a queen here. We're going to stick in the raise now. We make it 135 to go. We just click it back. He doesn't have that much behind. He rams in his last $246, and we snap call. We're hoping he has a queen here. River comes to 3 of clubs. We turn over a hand, and he turns over king 10 of spades for a higher flush. So we got what we deserved. This is going to happen a lot if you play suited, low, shitty cards like that. You can get flush over flush a lot. We were feeling lucky. Maybe it was feeling lucky. Maybe it was the Guinness made us make a bad call on the button. But we were in the mix. We were feeling spicy and we got what we deserved. So, but on the bright side, he didn't have that much of a stack to begin the hand. So we lost probably the minimum. If we were deep stacked against someone there, that could have got really, really bad with a 4 high flush. So we might have dodged a bullet, but we could have definitely dodged it had we not been in the hand. In this hand, there's a 10 straddle on the button before we look down at ace shack off in the small blind. When there's a straddle on the button, you're first to act, which makes it kind of interesting. I think you actually probably should be doing a decent amount of limping because you're guaranteed to be acting first playing out a small blind. Every other player at the table has to act behind you, so you have to be quite tight from here. But ace jack is definitely going to be good enough to raise, especially at this table. We open it on up to $35 and only middle position calls. We're going heads up to a flop here, and it comes down king 7-5 all hearts. So it's a monotone board. We do have the jack of hearts. We've ace high. I think I like continuing on these boards. We should have more strong hands here. I think he probably will have more flushes, especially more the lower flushes, but we're going to have all the high card hands. We're going to have all the ace king, king queen. So we fire out a bet of $35 and he sticks around. Coming to the turn, it comes to 6 of spades. There's 155 in the middle, and we decide to fire out a second barrel of $100. Hoping mainly to get folds from hands like pocket 9s, pocket 8s with no hearts, stuff like this. So when we fire out $100, he makes the call. We're going to the river needing some help here. Help does not arrive, and it comes to 4 of clubs, bringing a 4-liner to a straight out there. Any 8 is a straight, any 3 is a straight. So now I think we're just going to give up. He can definitely have some flushes that he hasn't raised yet. He can have some king X, which maybe won't fold. I think we probably would have better hands to turn into a bluff here. We'd rather have the ace of hearts if we were going to fire out a massive bluff, but we only have the jack of hearts here. So I think we're going to wave the white flag. I don't see him folding too many hands that call the turn on this river. So we make the check and he fires out about a $200, and now we just have an easy fold. The villain from the last hand opens at $25, and we make a very, very light 3-bet in the cutoff with queen 10 off. He makes the call and we go heads up to the flop. Flop comes down queen 8-8 rainbow, so we flop top pair, but this is the worst queen we're going to have here. I can get behind checking this sometimes. We want to check some of our weakest queens, but against this player, I fire out a small c-bet at $35. He makes the call. The turn now comes in offsuit 6. He checks it on over to us, and now I think we want to employ some pot control. We want to check this back. He can definitely have some better queens. He's also not going to call 3 streets with a worse hand. No pocket pairs or ace highs will call, so it's nice to check back. If he does have an 8, he doesn't get to check raise. We can just call the river. River now comes a 4, so he fires out a bet of $75, and we do something very, very spicy. I don't think he has an 8 here. He certainly can, but don't think he has it all that often. He could certainly have a better queen as well. So I think usually you'd be calling, but I just thought this player would call too wide on the river, especially when I check back the turn. It will probably confuse him. So we go for the thinnest value raise ever. We min click it to $150, just trying to squeeze out every extra ounce of value we can get from this player. This could end up got blown up in our face. This could be terrible. He could just call with a better queen. Eventually he flicks in the call. We turn over our hand and it's good. So it feels pretty good to get that one through. We just got that extra bit of value on the river, which we usually wouldn't find there. I think the standard play is to call. So it was nice to get a thin value raise with a hand this light and get paid. In this hand, it folds around to us on the button and we look down at ace king off. Certainly going to raise this hand up. We make it $20 to go. The small blind decides to 3-bet and raises to $75. Big blind gets out of the way and now we have a decision. Both of us are over 2k deep, so I think we want to call this hand. Ace king off generally wants to call the deeper we get. We'd be 4-betting a hand like ace king suited, and it comes from a couple of reasons. So the more big blinds each player has in their stack, the better a hand you need to get to the river. So the more and more the stacks get deep, you need the nuts on the river. So that's why suited hands are going to be the ones that 4-bet and the offsuit combos just call. If we were 100 big blinds deep, this is just always a 4-bet, but given that we're 400 big blinds effective, I think this is going to be better as a call, and it also keeps in a lot of the bluffs he'd have. The small blind is going to play a lot of 3-bets from this position, so we keep in a lot of dominated ace-x that he would 3-bet and fold to a 4-bet. When we 4-bet and he calls, he's going to continue with a pretty tight range. He's essentially never going to 5-bet bluff. So this is why ace king off works nice as a call here. We go heads up to the flop and it comes queen queen 7 with 2 hearts. He continues with a 1/3 bet, which I'd expect to see him do with his entire range on this board. We're going nowhere with our ace king high. We beat a lot of the other ace highs. We can bluff him on future streets. We do have the ace of hearts, so if another heart comes, we can definitely put pressure on him. Turn comes a 4, changes nothing, and he goes for a check. Now I think I want to start turning this hand into a bluff. Couple of reasons. We do block a lot of the strongest queen X he can have. We do block hands like ace queen, king queen, and I think he'd barrel a lot of his queens a decent percentage of the time. I think he would check some as well, but I think he's going to also barrel them at a decent frequency. So given that we block a lot of his queen X and we too can have a lot of queen X ourselves, we're going to start bluffing on the turn. We fire out a bet of $175. He makes the call. River now comes to jack of hearts. There's 7-15 in the middle. We've just ace high, but I think we're not going to be checking back this one after he checks to us. I think we're going to go for a bluff here. We have a pretty nice hand to bluff for the reasons I mentioned before, and given that the front door flush just came in, we can represent a flush, we can represent a strong queen. We're going to put a lot of pressure on hands like pocket 10s, pocket 9s. Even if he did have an overpair like aces or kings, they're also in a tough spot, but we do block them hands, so he's more weighted to having hands like pocket 10s, pocket 9s. So we're going to fire out a bluff here. We fire out a bet of $450. In hindsight, I think we probably want to go with a bigger size here. If we're representing flushes and queen X and some full houses, we probably want to go pot with our bluffs, but we settle on a size of $450 and this sends him into the tank. Eventually, after a while in the tank, he eventually lets it go. We get the bluff through. I'm surprised we got this bluff through. If you look at us in the casino today, we're all in green, we're sculling Guinness, so with these glasses on, I wouldn't have folded to me, but we somehow get the bluff through. And for the final hand of the vlog today, we open ace jack of clubs in middle position to $20. The button makes the call before a decent reg in the small blind puts in a 3-bet to $100. Folds back to us. I don't really like calling this hand. It can be tough to play post flop. We end up dominated by a lot of better ace-x. We're going to be in the middle between the button and the small blind because the button's likely to call if we make the call. But I do think this hand actually makes a nice 4-bet. It's a suited ace. We do block some of the stronger hands. We block ace king, we block aces, we block pocket jacks. So I think this makes a nice hand to 4-bet on occasions. We make it $265 to go. Button quickly gets out of the way and the small blind releases his card. So we get a nice little 4-bet bluff through to finish the session. We're wrapping up early. We're heading to the Celtic Fest for a Paddy's Day here in downtown Vancouver. We're excited for that. We've been on the Guinness all day in the casino. I think if we stay any longer, we might start to punt pretty hard because we're starting to get a bit loose. So we're going to wrap up the session here and I will see you now on the outro. Right, so successful Paddy's Day. In the game for 1500, out for 2060, profit 560. Didn't punt, success. Game was good fun. We were railing a bunch of Guinness, and now we are off to the Irish Festival. So I will show you some clips from that. Peace.